Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today I've got the good fortune to be interviewing Tom Matzen. Authority entrepreneurs hire Tom to build 7- and 8-figure businesses by helping them package their wisdom and knowledge to build a global movement in the process. Tom has started some 87 businesses of his own, and he is here today to talk about how he is on a mission to empower 10,000 authority entrepreneurs to build 7- and 8-figure businesses by December 2024. Tom, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Seth, so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me in your little place.
Of course. Okay, so 87 businesses. Let's go back in time just a little bit.
Clearly, I cannot focus, right?
Clearly, you have entrepreneurial ADD and shiny object syndrome, and we do not have time to go over all 87. So we'll do the current one, but let's go back in time and start with the first one. How did you get started? And then we'll jump the other 86.
The first one, my favorite question. In fact, I keep the business card for my first one right here as a reminder for several reasons. The first part is I was in high school and we wanted to start, well, we wanted to meet girls. And that's what started it. And then the idea was, okay, what would be a good thing? Let's do a DJ company. Because I had the face for radio, even back then, as my mom would say. And so we put together a DJ company, and for you kids listening in, we actually had albums, these big,
Records,
huge plastic CDs that were, really big and wide, and you might see them in your grandpa's garage now.
Yeah.
And we had a blast, and we called it After 8 Music Services. And as you know, because you're a marketing whiz, when you come up with a business, you want to come up with your differentiator statement, right? Your unique selling proposition, yes. Unique value proposition. And I keep this card framed beside my desk because, well, frankly, it humbles me every time I read it. And here is this saying, I don't know if you can see it, After 8 Music Services. Do you see our statement?
We play for anyone.
Literally the opposite of what you're supposed to do in business, narrow down your target market. We did polkas, we did hard rock, we did weddings, we did bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. We played for anyone. And as a result, we had a 4,000 album collection that never got paid for by the amount of business we did.
I'm sure.
That was business one a long time ago. And fortunately, since then, I've gotten a little more strategic.
Yes. Well, I also have first business card.
Oh, I love it.
Ever.
Online Marketing Buffalo.
.com, which probably doesn't exist anymore.
Oh.
With my caricature of myself 20 plus years younger. All right. So you started out as a DJ, and obviously there were a whole lot of businesses along the way. Let's talk about the current business that you are in now.
Yeah, so I went through 3 eras over the 37 years. The first was helping bricks and mortar businesses build and scale. And if they didn't have money, I would partner with them if I liked what they were doing. And that's where a lot of the businesses came in the beginning. They couldn't afford to hire me. I loved what they were doing. I said, great, let's help you build the coffee bar or the chocolate shop or whatever it happened to be. Then in the middle phase of my entrepreneurial career, I started focusing on scale. I became a E-Myth mastery coach with Michael Gerber. I got immersed in Jay Abraham's work, eventually hiring him as a personal coach. And I would focus on helping people create licensing or franchising programs, primarily startups. So super high risk, super high reward, and I just loved it. And when I started looking at what I'm going to do with the rest of my business career, I had engaged this gal, a French gal from Texas. How's that for oxymoronic combination? Beautiful French accent. And we went down, we brought our team in, and we went through this entire exercise of figuring out your true calling. And I was so glad because I went in with a blank canvas, open to whatever she said. She came highly recommended by people I know, like, trusted, and valued. And what we came up with was, for the next phase, I want to focus on helping entrepreneurs create global movements, specifically entrepreneurs that are focused on impact first, impact and income, but impact driven, right? You know a lot of people in this space. Some are impact driven and some are income driven. I used to be very judgmental about that. I'm not. If you're income driven, good for you. Embrace it, right? Embrace it. Know what it is. But for me, I get more juice from helping people that are impact driven.
Yes.
And so I became what I now call myself a chief movement maker. And my focus is on finding people, helping them create 7- and 8-figure businesses, selling their wisdom and knowledge across the globe, and soon across developing countries around the world too. We are launching a major new initiative in a couple of months. I'm like crazy excited. We can impact 10,000 entrepreneurs in the developed world. With this new initiative, we might get that to 10 million in the developing world. So basically, I've embraced that vision from multiple directions. We now have 3 divisions, building a team, scaling, and loving it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all the success along the way. So let's talk about the 3 divisions, and then we'll work into, and then we'll dive in deeper.
Sure. So what in figuring out how to play that game of creating movements, I realized that at the core of it is helping people create what we call, as you know, Seth, high ticket programs that guarantee results for the clients. That's the core, because if you can guarantee results for your clients, you can change the world. It's easier to market. Way more people will raise their hand to take a look at what you're doing. It's easier to sell because you're not selling, you're screening and qualifying. And that's so much easier than pitching and pursuing, right? You got to be great to pitch and pursue. You don't have to be good to screen and qualify. You just got to listen well and ask good questions. And then you also have to be focused on outcomes. See, one of the things that's become clear in the last 10 years for me is that we don't want to pay for information anymore, right? We want outcomes. We want results.
Right.
Sometimes we still pay for information to help us, right?
So much information that's free.
Well, and podcasts are a great example, right? They virtually didn't exist. They were radio shows and then syndicated radio shows, and now it's podcasts. You get great information in a very condensed environment, and yet I know one podcaster that charges. You probably know more, but I know one in the whole world. Now, he's got thousands of people paying for his podcast, so it's a good model. And fortunately, he was too naive in the beginning. He started this about 13 years ago. JB Glossinger, morning coach. You might know him.
Oh, yeah, he's been on my show. I know.
Yeah, I mean,
when you said one, the first one that popped into my mind was JB. That's so funny that we both picked the same person.
It's the only guy I know that charges for his podcast and his model, and it's morphed
right,
and changed.
And it's not freemium. It's not free, and some episodes are paid. It's all paid.
Yeah. And what does he do? He makes you feel good in the morning with some inspiration, and people pay him $20 a month, and thousands do.
Yeah.
And talk about a lifestyle business. By 9 a.m, he's done his day, and he goes off to the golf course.
Right.
And loves it. So that's to me, that's part of the special part. So when we were looking at that was the core division that we created. As we started to build that, we also realized that masterminds are so powerful, so impactful, because we're both in one together. Done right, they're the greatest force for good in business. A lot of people don't do them right. I'm not saying just because you call it a mastermind, it's good.
Correct.
I love you, Tony and Dean, but just because you call it a mastermind doesn't mean it's good. You got to have real value.
Bring up the elephant in the room and say, have you seen what they've now done with the master marketplace and all that stuff? So, okay.
Well, and they're masterful people at what they do.
Absolutely.
But a mastermind, the way we define it, is the way Napoleon Hill defined it.
Yep.
Shared collective wisdom.
Yep.
Right? Shared collective wisdom, each of us getting better and stronger and bouncing ideas off. You presented to the mastermind we're in, we took ideas from that. I presented, you took ideas from that. That's what a good mastermind does, is we help each other share the collective wisdom and experience and overcome problems and a whole bunch of other stuff. So one of our divisions, it's called Get It Together, getittogether.com, is an entire global mastermind dedicated to help primarily small businesses and entrepreneurs get guaranteed results as they grow their business. And frankly, learn to get out of the way. Because a lot of us, especially if you're tuning in, you probably can relate, you're the center of your business, right? You're the, Value Builders calls it hub and spoke.
Yes.
Right? You're the center and everything's out there. And the way to measure that is, are complaints handled by you, right? Are disputes handled by you? Are new acquisition, sales, conversion conversations primarily handled by you? Well, guess what? You're the center of your business. And so, we help people get out of the way too. So that's the mastermind division. And then the third came from one of our programs that just caught on and took off like wildfire. And it's called the $1 Million Book Launch Program. Self-explanatory. We help people create a high-ticket program and a book and launch it and create a tribe and guarantee them $1 million in sales. And that's taken off so well that it's now a full division of its own. So those are the three divisions. All of it's involving helping people package their wisdom and knowledge and then figuring out a way to deliver that knowledge so they can get actual impact and guarantee the results.
Okay. So we could spend hours unpacking that description. Let's take one thing for the purposes of the next 10, 15 minutes and unpack that. You said something that as a marketer, and it's one of the 10 most powerful words in marketing according to Dan Kennedy. And one of the sexiest things you could say, you said the word guarantee like 5 times. And you talked about guaranteeing $1 million in sales, guaranteeing this. I'm in full disclosure, I'm just enrolled in one of your guaranteed programs where you're guaranteeing me results. So talk a little bit, obviously it takes the guts, the chutzpah, the whatever to issue the guarantee in the first place. And then of course you've got to have the fulfillment and operations and everything to back it up. So talk a little bit about why you make such outrageous guarantees and then how you actually deliver on them so you're not getting refunds, chargebacks, or lawsuits on the back end.
Yeah, so multiple parts. And first, it starts with a concept. My mentor for years was Jay Abraham. Many of your listeners will know of Jay or know Jay personally. I think the smartest guy in marketing. He calls it risk reversal. Why does he call it risk reversal? Because the goal is to shift the risk from your prospect's shoulders to your shoulders. Pretty simple strategy, because then the prospect goes, oh, you're taking on some of the risk or all the risk or a good chunk of the risk. You must believe in what you do.
Or you must know for sure I'm going to get what I'm paying for.
Well, that's part of the believing part, right?
Yes,
in other words, the believing is, you can deliver, you can get results, that I'm a good fit for what you're doing. There's a bunch of elements that come into that. The first part of a guarantee, though, is that with a good risk reversal, you get 9 times as many people raising their hand to do business with you. 9 times. The data has been tracked in multiple industries.
Increase in leads and sales because there's a guarantee attached to it.
You don't get 9 times the sales because you screen more. Yes. You don't need a course, you don't need any training. You're like, like when I first talked about that, how we're working together, I was like, are you sure? Well, tell me why. You could do this on your own. Well, yeah, but I couldn't do this on my own. With that guarantee, I'd be nuts not to. And in other words, literally, you screen and qualify more to make sure they're a good fit. Now, the actual process of pulling this off is pretty simple. We break it down to 6 steps. The first one is identify the biggest risk your prospects face when working with you, right? It might be monetary. It might be time. It also could be a lot of other things. Back in the day, IBM, when they were the dominant player, people would come to compete with them and they would call IBM inferior but marketable. And they would always poke fun.
Yeah, no one ever got fired from buying IBM.
That was the point.
That was the brand. And in the financial services industry, at the Fortune 500 company I worked for many, many years before starting my own, it was you'll never get fired for recommending American funds.
Yeah.
Just give everybody, if you don't know what to do, give them American funds. No one's ever going to get mad at you.
And that's where, so when you're looking at the risk, sometimes the risk is they'll get fired. Sometimes the risk is they'll get divorced. Like we have $100,000 programs, as you know, Seth. Our mid-tier programs are $100,000. And, that is literally a marriage ender.
It could, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I had a phone call from a client my wife saw the Facebook ad bill of the ads you ran and she freaked out. Like, we got to cut ad spend way back. And I'm like, but you asked for more leads and more appointments. How am I supposed to do that if you're cutting the ad spend? Like, it doesn't matter. Just for a month, a bill's got to show up that's really low.
Yeah.
I'm like,
so you got to identify that risk, right? Like, everyone's going to be different. I mean, in the restaurant business, someone could die, right? You could literally have bad food and they could die, right? In the healthcare business with all the COVID craziness, I mean, literally people could die. So sometimes the risks are terminal, sometimes they're economic, sometimes they're time. You want to identify the risks first for your ideal target audience. Make sense?
Yes.
Second, and this is the first leap, create the biggest, boldest possible guarantee that you can for that situation. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of this as I'm going through the process with you, and I'm sitting here going, well, I could make up a crazy ass guarantee. It doesn't mean we can deliver.
Well, and that gets into the next part, the step 3. So first you come up with a big, bold one. And actually I want to dig down that just a little bit, because when people are implementing this, that's where it first breaks down.
Let's use me as an example. I'm willing to throw myself under the bus.
I love it. Which program of yours do you want to focus on?
Okay, so the one we hired you for, which was to be an additional marketing arm of our Dream 50 podcast into book into authority maker type of service.
Love it. So right now, do you have any guarantee on that program?
We do not.
Okay. So what sort of business do they typically generate? Your top 20% that apply themselves and you apply them well, and they listen and you listen and everybody does it right. What sort of impact does the top 20% get? Okay,
so I'm getting there. Their biggest risk is that they're not going to make their money back.
Yep.
They're going to pay us every month for a year, and they're the only risk, really.
Because it's mainly a done for you service, right?
It's a done for you service. So other than you might make me look foolish, which is never going to happen. But I mean, their biggest risk, the only risk in their mind, I would think, is I'm not going to get my money back. Honestly, we haven't tracked how much end user business it's generated for them. We can tell you how many people have listened to their show, how many people got their book. We can tell you in some cases how many leads it generated for them. But
and currently, what's the price tag for that offer?
$2,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on the level.
For 12 months, right?
So 24 to 36K.
Yeah. So 24 to 36K. So we actually, it's interesting. I recently, about 6 months ago now, I had someone who does a similar offer to yours, was introduced to our strategic alliance mastermind. We sat down, we talked about guarantees in Zoom, sat down right in Zoom and talked about guarantees. And he goes, well, we're thinking about guaranteeing. And I said, well, here's a masterclass, watch the strategy and then let's talk. That was on Thursday. He watched it, turns out, twice that weekend. Monday, he presented an offer to 4 clients. They were charging $2,000 to $3,000 a month for this service. He packaged it up as $25,000 based on 50,000 sales. A really baby guarantee. It wasn't bold. It was just baby. And 4 people bought his $25,000 offer that day. He sends me a video on Tuesday saying, Tom, you're not going to believe this.
I do it
now,
every day.
Since then, he's done literally over 7 figures in sales. And we liked it so much that we partnered with him to add even more value and come up with an even bolder promise.
Right, because we added so that's another conversation you and I need to have, is I guarantee you our service has stuff his doesn't and is different. So I was thinking as I looked at the contract I signed with you, there's possibilities of playing together at a higher level here.
Yeah, because what happens and this, by the way, for everyone tuning in, it's not just Seth and Tom. Soon as you focus on high ticket with guarantees, stop thinking it has to be you doing everything, right? You can partner with other awesome people. And we look for, in strategic alliance world, 1 + 1 is 11. And that gets actually into step 3 and 4 of solving this. Step 3 is figure out how you're going to deliver on that guarantee. And step 4 is anuragging your plan. That's a term I coined from Anurag Gupta, who specializes in taking companies from 10 million a year to $1 billion a year. Fascinating guy. And by the way, 100% success rate.
Wow. Okay.
Now,
so
to be fair, Well, to be fair, if you don't listen to him, he fires you. So not 100% of the people that start with him get there. But if you listen, he gets you there. And what he does, what his advice is, I'll give you a mini crash course here because of timing. You take the goal you're playing for. So in our case, we're guaranteeing you $250,000, right?
Yes.
We're actually not going to play for $250,000. We're going to play for $500,000. And then we're going to come up with, so we double the goal first. Then you come up with 3 separate or redundant strategies to accomplish that $500,000. And each of those strategies are designed to accomplish the $500,000. So you add that up, 3 times the $500,000 is $1.5 million. So we're not actually trying to get Seth $250,000. We're trying to get Seth $1.5 million, and we'll blow through the $250,000 on the way. We can all do that as entrepreneurs. Now, basic entrepreneurs, 3 different lead generation. Advanced entrepreneurs, 3 different lead generation, 3 different target audiences, 3 different offers. You can annuagging each of those if you're an advanced one. Now, this is not for the amateurs. If you're doing less than $1 million a year, please do not try what I just said in the last 20 seconds. Ignore it, wipe it from your memory. But if you're doing 7 figures and you want to scale to 8 figures, easiest way possible. Easiest way possible. So, back to yours. Let's say you're comfortable in looking at the numbers, guaranteeing $250,000 of increased sales if you screen the clients right? By the way, if for everyone tuning in, not just Seth, you could have a program that's only for people who qualify and still keep doing your other stuff for everyone else, right? So like in our case, we only guarantee.
Oh my God. So blinding flash of the obvious. We got to add your program onto ours.
So that they have a high ticket program, so it's easy to get the guarantee.
So we are, yes. And
yes,
then you
totally.
you do the internal, all of your stuff. And then we do our stuff, which just got a whole lot sexier because your stuff got added to it.
And now you know exactly what our joint venture was with Josh. Conceptually, we now guarantee $1 million in sales.
Was that Josh Turner?
No, Josh Elledge from
Okay.
My Influence.
Okay.
Great guy. Have you met Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Super great guy. And by the way, the work you're doing, the work he's doing, there's so much opportunity out there.
We got to talk. You got to reconnect us.
So much opportunity because what people don't realize is one of the best takeaways from a podcast, and you live this, Seth, so you realize it. But for the person listening in, I always think there's 2 people listening into a podcast at any 1 second, right? So for the 2 of you listening in this very moment, you get massive acceleration in building trust when you're a host and when you're a guest.
Correct. Which is
either side.
both. Yeah.
I mean, you can. I shouldn't say you automatically get it if you're lousy.
No, because we've had people who are really lousy at both.
Yeah. So it's not automatic, but it can increase the odds. Let's put it that way,
If you follow
right?
our process, we can guarantee.
Yeah. And then step 5, back to the 6 steps, because I'm one of these guys that I got to cover the 6 steps for those
close the loop.
detail guys, right?
Yep.
Number 5, link your payments to your clients' results. Super easy if you're in the making money business. More work if you're in the better life, better relationship business.
Right.
But you can still do it. You can still do it. You just got to think it through strategically and go through the process. If you said the right
thing to your wife today and didn't get into a fight, I'm going to ding your card another $97.
Exactly. We actually have someone that has we do 5 stages to our programs, right? And we've got someone that I think it's stage 2 is no more fights with their spouse. It's literally the promise.
So seriously.
Literally.
I want to take that program.
Who wouldn't? I got divorced. That was one of the most expensive things in my life. Not because of the equity. I didn't have a lot built up.
You got to sell that as divorce.
The lost momentum was crazy.
Yes. Okay,
and then the last step, and this is so important for those of you that think guarantees are just figure it out and you're done, because it's not, is you then need to test and measure. You need to test and measure. My favorite example, realtor Kathleen Mongeon, she was in one of our trainings. We split this training into 2 parts, and it was the end of Saturday, and she got the concept, biggest, boldest guarantee. And then we were going to actually work on it the next morning. Unbeknownst to me, she drives to a listing presentation. On the way there, she figures out biggest, boldest. Okay, I got an idea. Says to the gentleman, I'll sell your home and I'll help you buy your new home. And if I don't sell your home within 30 days, within 95% of the listing price, I'll pay the mortgage on the first home until it sells.
Damn, that's really good.
65 grand she made on that transaction.
I would imagine every single homeowner would take that, because the only thing I've ever seen close in real estate is the whole, there was a sign from a realtor from a firm that said, if we don't sell your house, we'll buy it. But I didn't list with that person. I have no idea if they were really for real, if it was the whole, how that was working. But obviously much cheaper to just pay a mortgage, $2,000 guarantee, then now I got to sign a contract, buy the house, and somehow finance it, and then obviously sell it.
And there's some insight here in how she figured this out that will help anyone doing their guarantee. In order to do that, she had to only take fair listings.
Right? She wasn't one of these young bucks that would say, oh yeah, I can get you $1.5 million, Seth, no problem. And then come back in 3 months saying, Seth, we got to lower it to $1.2 million. Right? Bait and switched in the real estate world. She would only take fair listings. And if they wanted something that wasn't fair, she wouldn't list it. Number one. Number two, this was in Greater Vancouver. Greater Vancouver historically is a fast moving market. Typical, if you price it fair, 21 days to close. So that was her norm, 21 days to close. So 30 days wasn't even a big risk if it was fairly listed.
Right.
So think about it for you. If you're promising a guarantee, pardon me?
What do they say about why any house won't sell? The price is too high.
Right. And so she does her homework first. Make sure it's fair price, like anyone should do in the real estate world. That's what professionals do. Like they come and say, no, Seth, it's not worth 1.5 mil. I'm sorry. It's worth 700 grand. What? No, but I painted the yard or whatever, right? It's like, no, that's what it's worth in today's market. And you know, I'm in a high growth market, so it's often going up, but it doesn't matter. It's a matter of what's fair. So in your business, you need to test and measure, see what they respond to. One other bit of nuance, because I know you got some advanced entrepreneurs and advanced marketers listening. The real powerful way to do this is to link as much of this to their outcomes that matter. Their outcomes, not your outcomes, right? So for example, and we'll talk about this when we do our launch call, Seth, if you can change the structure of the cash flow to get more upfront and link everything else to results instead of every month, way more people will go, I'm in, because now you're linked to their outcome.
It's sexier in terms of, oh, they have to do X in order for me to pay, which I saw in your contract. And the whole guarantee is literally what I said, no problem. The guarantee is what sold me. I don't even know.
And if you know what our second payment is 50,000 in sales, you make your next payment.
Right.
Well, that's a low threshold for us. That's not a high bar, right? 100% of our clients are going to achieve that. Our goal is to have 100% get to the finish line, but we know 100% will achieve the first one. And they know. It's like, well, that's easy. I know, but I'm quite happy to pay you when you bring me in 50,000 in sales. Here's another 6,250, Tom. I love you, brother, right? It's one of those things where clients become excited to pay you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So powerful.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I know we're out of time. I know you're incredibly busy. We super appreciate it. We will have you back, and we'll do like a 60 to 90 minute webinar masterclass so that you have a whole lot more time to unpack this, because there's golden nuggets. I got some awesome ideas and notes and love it. Super excited so far. I know you've got a very special offer for our audience, so tell them what they won, Tom.
Well, in order to impact 10,000 authority entrepreneurs by December 2024, we've realized we need to give away our best programs. And so if you have authority or want to develop authority, and you love the idea of a high ticket program with a guarantee, we're going to give you a scholarship to our full Game Changer Program Academy, we call it. It's a $10,000 program. You have to apply. Right now, about 81% of the people that submit their details get accepted. So not everyone gets in, but most do. We'll make sure the links are in the show notes for you, Seth, so you've got it there. And basically, we will scholarship an entire program where you will create, blueprint, validate, and sell your own high-ticket program in the first 4 months. It's a group coaching program. It comes with templates and support and accountability partners and 12 calls a month and a whole bunch of things that I don't need to get into now. You can watch the video and the link and see if you think it makes sense. We've given away $2.5 million worth of scholarships since November when we started this. We love it. We're going to give away millions more. And if you think it's time for you to make some real income and you've got some wisdom or knowledge or believe you can package, I call it reporter authority. You can research others and package it together, then check it out. And we'd love to have you apply and become part of our scholarship.
Awesome. This has been Seth Greene and Tom Matzen. Super awesome interview, Tom. Thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Awesome, Seth.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.